Everyone thought the street was quiet that morning, until a scream tore through the air like a ripped flag, and the man who caused it had no idea. Someone far more dangerous than him was about to step out from the shadows. Officer Lena Hart had survived violent suspects before, but nothing prepared her for the sheer ferocity of the man now lunging toward her, the notorious Mafia heir, Vincent Rocco, whose name alone made entire neighborhoods shutter their windows. His rage came without warning, sharp and wild, as if fueled by a lifetime of entitlement and hatred. And beside Lena, her loyal canine, Shadow, growled with a trembling mix of readiness and fear. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love knowing who's listening. Vincent's boot struck first, a brutal kick aimed directly at Shadow. The dog yelped, stumbling backward, claws scraping asphalt. That one sound, that one helpless cry, carved into Lena's chest like broken glass. She lunged forward, but Vincent moved faster than she expected, his arm slamming across her collarbone, knocking her off balance. The world tilted, the sun flashing like shattered metal as she hit the ground. He stood over her, smirking, that kind of smirk born from a lifetime of men cleaning up his messes, hiding his sins, buying his innocence over and over again. But this time, no one was coming to save him. Across the street, a man paused mid-step. Tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a plain gray hoodie and jeans that didn't quite hide the way he carried himself. Centered, balanced, alert. His name was Mark Halley. 20 years as a Navy SEAL had carved discipline into his bones and quiet intensity into his gaze. He'd come home weeks earlier, seeking peace after too many deployments, too many nights hearing gunfire echo in his skull. But peace, it seemed, wasn't ready to meet him yet. He saw the woman on the ground. He saw the dog limping, whimpering. He saw the man towering over them, fists clenched, eyes white-hot with rage. And just as Vincent grabbed the officer's vest to yank her up, Mark felt something old and familiar crack open inside him, that instinct, that switch, that unbreakable chain between training and duty. He stepped forward. The neighbors had already begun peeking through curtains, whispering behind partly open doors. A woman holding a toddler pressed a hand over her child's eyes. A shop owner froze mid-sweep, leaning on his broom as if the bristles themselves could feel the tension thickening in the air. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Lena tried to stand, but her vision blurred. Shadow hobbled toward her, but Vincent intercepted, delivering another kick meant to break spirit and bone alike. The dog recoiled, but stayed on its feet, shaking, determined. "Stay down," Vincent hissed at Lena, pressing a knee to her shoulder. "You should have minded your own business." And that's when Mark reached them. "Let her go," he said quietly. Vincent didn't look up at first, the arrogance of someone who assumed the world always bent to him. When he finally turned, he laughed. A cruel, amused laugh that didn't quite hide the flicker of uncertainty beginning to bloom in his eyes. "And who the hell are you?" Vincent scoffed. Mark didn't answer. He didn't need to. He took one more step, letting the sunlight hit his face, calm, unreadable, almost too calm. That unsettling calm of a man who understood violence better than the man threatening it. A few neighbors stepped outside now, drawn by something magnetic about the stranger. They sensed the shift. The atmosphere thickened, like the air before a storm. Lena felt it too. She recognized military bearing, even through the fog of pain. Vincent rose to his full height, shoving Lena aside, cracking his knuckles like a man who'd never been truly challenged. "You want to play hero, old man?" Mark blinked once. Slowly, his hands relaxed at his sides. "You should walk away," he said. 3 simple words. But they landed like a warning bell. Vincent didn't listen. He charged. The world exploded into motion, fast, brutal, instinct-driven motion. Vincent swung first, a wild hook fueled by rage, not technique. Mark shifted an inch, just an inch, letting the strike pass through empty air. A collective gasp rippled through the watching crowd. Mark's counter was decisive but controlled. A single movement, palm to chest, pivot of hips, redirection of force. Vincent stumbled backward, confused, tripping over his own momentum. Lena, still on the ground, stared with disbelief. Shadow stood beside her, teeth bared in protective fury. Vincent roared and charged again. Another miss. Another effortless redirection. Mark wasn't fighting. He was neutralizing, controlling, choosing restraint in a moment, where retaliation would have been easier. But restraint comes at a cost. Vincent finally landed a blow, a desperate, reckless punch that struck Mark across the jaw. The crowd gasped. Lena sucked in a breath. Mark didn't fall. Instead, his eyes sharpened, not with anger, but with something colder, disappointment. He stepped forward, grabbed Vincent's wrist, twisted, and brought the Mafia heir to his knees. Not with brutality, with precision. With the kind of efficiency only a lifetime of combat could shape. Vincent screamed, rage mixing with fear. "You're hurting a dog," Mark said, voice low, carrying across the entire street. "You're hurting an officer. And you think that makes you strong?" The question hung heavy. Neighbors edged closer. Phones recorded. The air thrummed with moral tension, the kind that makes people question the lines between justice and revenge. Vincent tried one last defiant swing. Mark pinned him flat against the ground. And for the first time, the Mafia son looked truly small. Lena pushed herself up, limping toward Shadow, pulling the dog close despite the pain in her shoulder. Tears blurred her vision, not from fear, but from relief so sharp it made her chest ache. Mark stepped away from Vincent, giving Lena space. He wasn't there to steal her authority. He was there to return it to her. Vincent glared up at him, spitting curses, but none held the power they had minutes earlier. Not after the neighbors witnessed everything. Not after seeing the truth with their own eyes. That weakness wasn't the man who used violence, but the man who relied on it to feel powerful. Backup sirens grew louder in the distance. Shadow licked Lena's hand weakly. She felt her breath tremble. "Thank you," she murmured to Mark. "You didn't need me," he replied softly. "You were already fighting." His humility, unexpected and sincere, softened the entire moment. But something else softened too, the tension in the neighborhood, the fear that had hung over them like smog for months. People stepped closer, offering blankets, water bottles, comforting words. A community that had been silenced by intimidation finally found its voice again. Lena watched them, heart swelling with something warm. Hope. Mark turned to leave, hands tucked in his pockets. She thought she'd never see him again. She was wrong. 2 days later, Lena visited the community center where Mark volunteered quietly. No uniform, no badges, no medals on display. Just a man helping teens with boxing stances and teaching them how to channel anger into discipline. He looked up when she entered, eyes calm as ever. "You didn't walk away," she said. "Neither did you." They shared a moment, not romantic, not dramatic, just deeply human. Two people who understood the weight of responsibility and the quiet courage it took to keep showing up. Shadow trotted beside her, recovered enough to lift his paw toward Mark, who knelt and scratched behind his ears. The dog leaned into him with unmistakable trust. Lena exhaled slowly. Some people break, others to feel strong. Some people lift others to make them stronger. Mark Haley was the second kind. The Mafia son was charged. The community gave statements, and for the first time in years, people walked the street with their heads high, knowing someone had stood up when it mattered most and inspired them to do the same. Because courage doesn't just stop violence, it teaches others how to rise above it. And sometimes the quietest moments reveal the strongest soldiers among us. If you enjoyed this story, let me know in the comments and tell me where you're watching from. I love connecting with all of you. Make sure to subscribe for more powerful stories just like this one.